So listen, for a few weeks now, I've wanted to make a video about my favorite film camera. And listen, I know you're like, Will, a few months ago you made a video called the Nikon FE, the perfect camera. And I still stand by that. I think this is the perfect camera. I take it traveling. It's a great size. I've always got a roll of film I'm running through it. It is perfect. I agree. It has double exposures, super easy. That 27 millimeter Nikon lens, I just love everything about it. It is the perfect camera. But I'm here to tell you about my favorite film camera. My Yashica Mat. Isn't she beautiful? Now, I blind bought this. I bought some random leather camera bag, and this was in it from a thrift store years and years ago, like in 2014, 2015. So I've probably had this camera longer than I've owned any other camera. I tend to trade my gear out periodically, but I just can't let go of this guy. I don't know what it is. I go long periods without shooting with it because I have to get used to the fact that you have to look down into the viewfinder, and that's hard. That's hard for me to get used to. It's so like, you know, everything's backwards. You know, you see this documentary, you see Vivian Maier, you're like, how are you just doing street photography, just like looking down into this thing? And you're like, it always takes me a second to figure out my angles and get it straight and whatever. So it takes me a little bit to warm up to this. But once I warm up to this camera, it's like crazy. The work is insane. The work is so good. I mean, it's every time I get my film developed with stuff from this camera, I'm like blown away. It's crazy. And I think largely the fact is it's because of medium format film. I'm just gonna be real with you. It's because of medium format film. Lately, I've been shooting a lot of medium format digital. I've been shooting with my Fujifilm 50S, Fujifilm GFX 50S2. My gosh, I hate that name. I've been shooting with that a lot lately, and it just has reminded me that I think I'm just a medium format guy. Now, I will always have some 35 millimeter situation going on, but I think when it's time for the real work, I think I just really enjoy medium format film more. I have never been able to get to the bottom of what model camera this is. I know it's a Yashica Mat. It's a Yashica Mat TLR. TLR stands for Twin Lens Reflex, and that is because this is the lens you actually take pictures with. This is the viewfinder lens. So twin lenses plus a reflex, which means, you know, the shutter mechanism, right? I think that's right. I'm sure you'll correct me if it's not. So anyways, this camera shoots a 6x6 negative, 6x6 medium format negative. So what is that? What does that mean? And it basically all comes down to negative size. So here is a negative from this Yashica Mat camera. 6x6, it's a square, right? And I've grown to love squares. You know, I've been doing this daily Polaroid project, and so just creating composition in a squarish format has kind of become second nature this year, and I've really begun to enjoy it. So square and, you know, vertical seems to be what our corporate overlords want us to shoot anyway. So it works out that I would like a squarish format more. To compare, here is a 35 millimeter negative. And basically, this negative is clearly a lot smaller than the 6x6, which means you get a lot more resolution out of a medium format 6x6 negative. You just get a lot more image, you get a lot more data, and 35 millimeter photos end up being a little crunchier, a little grainier, a little noisier, there's just less detail in it. Now, throughout this channel, I have scanned and enlarged both types of negatives, and you can still make a pretty big print out of all of the above with modern scanning, high-res technology. So I'm not saying one's better than the other, but there's something more satisfying to me nowadays about a medium format negative. It just looks so good. Also, because I do a lot of Polaroid stuff on this channel, to compare, here's a Polaroid, which is actually bigger than both types of negatives, although it just doesn't have the resolution of a medium format negative. So I don't really know what you would call it format-wise. It's not large format. It's not really medium format. And it wouldn't be small format, so I guess it's like medium or something. So recently I took this camera to a family gathering we had in the Gulf in Alabama, and I shot a lot of photos with it. I haven't just taken it on a trip and just relied on it solely for a very, very long time. So when we went down there, I pretty much only shot with this camera. And I gotta say, I love how a lot of these turned out. And I shot all of these on Portra 400 120 film, which 120 film, another name for medium format film. And I shot it Portra 400. I don't normally shoot Portra 400 35 millimeter. I don't really like it that much. But I do like Portra 400 medium format, because then when I make my scans, it's just really easy to work with. I can kind of alter the colors. I can kind of play with the negative more. And in 35 millimeter, I just don't feel like I have that kind of flexibility as much as I do when I shoot Portra in 120. And so these are nice. I really like how these turned out. And in fact, I love Polaroid because Polaroids get at this like dreaminess, this ethereal kind of feels like a memory. It's not quite crystal clear like a full-on documented photograph. It's like something else. It's like kind of reality, but not quite there. And medium format gets there. Even though medium format's very crisp and clear, it's still, compared to just a digital image, it just has something just a little bit more magical than 35 millimeter or just digital photography. And there's something I love about it, and it gets to what I'm after. Another thing about this camera, it doesn't come with a light meter built in. So I got one of these Keck light meter things that just goes into the hot shoe or cold shoe. Is that in focus? The hot shoe or cold shoe of my camera, and I just set it up to whatever my settings are. And all of these photos you've seen in the Gulf were the first time I used that light meter, and I think they worked out pretty well. I have no issues with the exposure on these. If you're getting into film and you're getting into film photography, you've seen a lot of YouTube videos, you're seeing all this stuff. You're like, okay, there's so many options. That's the cool thing about film photography. So there's just so many options of camera. With digital photography, you can buy just one digital camera and you can do all of these formats essentially. You can do square, horizontal, pano, whatever. It's no fun, really. But with film, you're forced to specialize. You're forced to specialize in a certain type of camera. And I would say if you are starting out with film, 35 millimeter is where a lot of people start, because there's just a lot of very entry-level cameras that are pretty easy to use. And most 35 millimeter cameras, aside from, the Leicas and the Contacts and the like dumb glitzy glamoury cameras that are very nice, but it's just not the everyman camera like this Nikon. Nikon, very affordable camera. Canon AE1, very affordable, and there are tons of just options. I recommend that's a great place to start. But if you want to start out a little bit of a next level, say get one of these TLRs. Because once you get used to shooting with something like this beautiful thing, first off, you're going to start a lot of conversation when you're carrying this around. Every time I carry this camera around, everyone wants to talk to me, and it's just like amazing. Now, if you're an introvert and you don't want anybody talking to you, do not get this camera, because people will talk to you, unfortunately. But I would say just there's a little bit of an elegance to the images with this camera and just the way you use it. So if you're starting out with photography, I kind of think you should get something like this. And these are price ranged all over the map. Honestly, for the price of a Nikon FE, I'm sure you can get one of these or something like it. They're all over the place. It's the most affordable medium format camera you can buy. I got this for, I don't really remember. It was like 20 to 50 bucks. It was something like that, but it was like crazy cheap. Medium format cameras tend to be more expensive, but this one has your lens built in. it's just ready to go out of the box, and it's cool out of the box. And you can even get one of these little light meter things, and that'll help with your exposure. And I think this is actually kind of the perfect beginner camera, especially if you're looking to make images that just feel different than other people's images. And I think it's just a good way to go hard as a beginner. So yeah, I guess this video is just about me gushing about this camera. I don't really, that's the point, is that if you're a beginner photographer, if you're getting into film photography, get a 6x6 negative, medium format Yashica matte. I've seen 124, I think is a model. There's also Rolleiflexes. There's a bunch of things like this, but a TLR. And I think you may have difficulty in the beginning, but man, once you get these things developed, you'll go crazy. You'll love it. It'll be wonderful. So anyways, this is kind of a ridiculous video, but thanks for watching. You can follow me on Instagram at Will Malone. You can follow my Polaroid Instagram account at RoidRage72, and I will see you soon. Delicious. Waiting for the AC to shut off. 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 Shut off now. Shut off now. Now. Yay, there we go. Cool.